Black also used many times the setup without knight b7, so delaying knight b7. First of all, black can avoid lines with g4 because it's immediately met by d5, so white has to play queen d2 and castle. And then instead of knight bd7, there are two ideas to create counter play on the queen side, so pushing either b or a pawn. So let's start with b5. Most natural is g4 here, then b4, and now knight d5. It's probably better than knight a4, although I played it once and it was pretty successful. It was another simul against Riccardi, the Argentinian national team, in 1997. And after d5, I played bishop c5, which could have led to a complicated position where black had some compensation for the pawn. But knight b6 would prove that this idea is not working. After d4, knight e8, it's a position where there is no sufficient compensation for an exchange. But after knight a4, knight bd7, black has very interesting and possibilities for sacrifice pawn after queen take before d5. For instance, bishop c5, then take, and queen c8. So that's why knight d5 is the best option for white. Take on d5, e d5, a5, g5, knight f d7. Now there's probably not as useful to play knight on, put knight on h5. He's not doing much here. So knight f d7, king b1, and here black could play a4, knight c1 as queen a5, but I would prefer this position from white side. Also, again, it's quite complicated, and still there are chances for black as well. Or queen c7, h4, knight b6, h5, and white, though white succeeded in pushing the pawns on h5 and g6, black also created chances on the queen side, and the position is probably not as clear. In fact, Sachs-Gallagher, the game ended up in black's favor, but Sachs could play bishop g5, keeping some advantage. But these positions are quite double-edged, and that's why I recommend you to look at the recent game Topalov on Valley. It's Vacancy 2007, when Topalov played knight d5 immediately, and after bishop d5, e d5, as you could see, the pawns cannot be moved. So not b4, not a5. So that's why black had to lose some time, and Valley played queen c7, g4, rook c8, king b1, b4. But obviously it's a waste of time, which benefited Topalov, who immediately created a very strong attack on the king side. Another option, which is very popular today, and black can boast even a very good practical result, is to play a5. A bit odd, because white would play a6 if we play now a5, but at the same time white castled queen side, and now they should decide how to deal with this unusual advance of a pawn, because obviously the most natural a4, creating the stronghold on b5, can be double-edged, since white king is not located safely on g1 or h1, but will be on c1 or b1. So let's see how the strong players dealt with a5. So king b1, for instance, a4, knight c1, a3, b3, and rook a5. One of the options, very interesting. So Shirov, at the end of 2016, Pamplona lost to Wojtaszek after bishop c4, take, rook a6, and black created quite a decent counterplay. It's not only just weak pawns, but again, white king is not in the safety of protected position on the king side, but is exactly in the midst of the fight on the opposite side of the board. Another one, another option is queen e1. That's recently played by Leko and Linares 2007. Queen c8, a3, a4, knight d2. Leko managed to win this pawn on a4 eventually, but it ended up with a very double-edged position where Swidler kept two bishops and created a very strong attack, mixing his advance in the center and threats on the queen side. Another one is bishop b5. That was played by Swidler himself and also played by other players. Even Leko in Linares against Vallejo. Knight a6, and here white played queen e2, played king b1, and I don't want to go into all these details. It seems that position is double-edged, and black's counter chances not to be underestimated. As you can see here, very few fresh games. 2004, 2005, 2006, even 2007. So it seems that this line is at the cutting edge of the development of this variation. And most natural, a4. So to prevent any action with black's a pawn. But then before this square is now available for the black knight. And after knight a6, g4, knight d4, again position is very sharp, and black has good chances. By the way, you could see that a4 was played at early stage of the development of this line. You see 94, 95 games, but it's also played recently in Archiv Nair game, where black played after king b1, they played rook c8, h4, knight d5. It ended up in white's favor. Also, I think position was complicated, but knight d7 played later by Smiths. It's probably creates quite a decent counterplay for black. So one of the recommendations at move 21, he could have played b6, and the weaknesses of white pawns cannot be underestimated, and I think black has pretty decent counter chances. So it seems that a5, although it looks a bit odd, leaves position unsettled, and I just have to admit that a5 was not on the top of my list, neither a5 nor b5. I personally wanted to find other ways to confront the bishop e3 line, and those lines that I always favored were related to an immediate push of the b pawn. So if white attacks my knight on f6, why not to try to attack immediately white's knight on c3? But again, it might be already outdated. I have not been playing chess for more than 2 years, and so you have to be very cautious in following my advices. But still, let us look now at the lines where black is trying immediately to do what white is doing with the knight on f6, i.e. to push knight on c3. It's a fight for the key central battle. It's square d5, and it leads to very complicated positions, sometimes very unusual, and in each position you will have to create a lot of fantasy and be very careful, because the positions are double-edged and can be easily changed one way or another.